Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. AEW Revolution this past Sunday was built around the main event of Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega in an exploding barbed wire death match, with the promise that after 30 minutes, the ring would explode. That's not my 90s-induced bloodthirst. That's literally what they told me. The match itself was brutal, compelling, and something I'd never watch again. But it was that angle that followed that was pure magic. Moxley's former friend turned enemy Eddie Kingston ran down to save him as the bombs counted down from 10, covering his body with his own to shield him from the explosion. I'm not crying. I've just been cutting onions. A heartbreaking, sincere gesture that was completely undermined by the planned explosion not working, and it being about as impressive as a Gilbert entrance, which, to make it even more awkward, Kingston and Moxley sold, not knowing how bad it looked. Bryan Alvarez has confirmed this wasn't what was supposed to happen, in case any of you were still in doubt. Just like the Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara botch at All Out, where they had run through the spot with a stuntman before the show to make sure it was safe, AEW had even tested the big explosion finish ahead of Revolution, and it worked perfectly. But the bomb they used on the actual show just happened to be a dud. Unsurprisingly, for such a huge part of the show going wrong, Alvarez added that Kenny Omega, the match's winner, was furious backstage with the finish. A quick cover-up story by Tony Khan on the post-show media call gave the kayfabe reason that it was Omega's faulty engineering that stopped the big explosion going off, which isn't exactly what you want associated with your top champion. How would you cover for the botch on tomorrow's Dynamite? Let me know in the comments down below, because I'll be replying to people from outer explosions. Something else that got a mixed reaction from viewers at Sunday's show was the debut of Christian Cage in AEW. He was the hyped-up Hall of Fame-worthy signing who has now joined the company on a multi-year deal. Christian only returned to in-ring wrestling after a 7-year retirement at the Royal Rumble in January, but due to negotiations with WWE falling through, he was never signed to a deal with the company. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select has now reported that WWE higher-ups felt let down by Christian's decision, but ultimately blamed the company for not having a contract locked down. Them knowing about Christian's move ahead of time was why WWE stopped mentioning him on TV, despite his Rumble return being one of the biggest angles of the year. We might not be getting an Edge and Christian reunion for WrestleMania, but at least we'll always have Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman, right? Right? On last night's Raw, Shane cut a really weird promo, where he took about 10 minutes in real time or 5 hours in experience time to say essentially nothing, while fumbling over his lines and going on tangents. It was so bad, many viewers were worried about Shane McMahon's health. But silly us, right? WWE meant it to be that bad. Sean Ross Sapp on Fightful Select is reporting the promo went pretty well the way it was supposed to, as the goal is to make Shane less likeable than Braun, and taking forever to get to the point was a part of that. Go make WrestleTalk.com your homepage for loads more wrestling news, but now it's time for my review of last night's Raw in about 5 minutes. Thanks for your support on Patreon. We'll always mark out for Ollie Landrum and Ronald Coleman. Baby. The Hurt Business are so goddamn cool. They open the show walking down a corridor backstage wearing their suits and draped in gold. The only one of them that doesn't have a championship has a really cool cane instead. I love them, I love them, I love them. After an in-ring Miz promo where he just pretty much recapped what the video package at the start of the show had already told us. Seriously, Raw now has more repetitive recaps than Married at First Sight Australia, and that show is barely 40% new material each episode, but I still love it. The opening of Raw was designed to be the official beginning of the almighty era, complete with a new entrance for WWE Champion Bobby Lashley that includes a special video bumper like he's his own show, lightning pyro, and a giant augmented reality Bobby Lashley in front of the real Bobby Lashley. Oh goddamn, I hate you. You know what? I'm just going to be appreciative of good pyro we get this week. Thank you, Pyro. This was just a prolonged squash match for Bobby where he made Miz tap out with the Hurt Lock in lieu of the advertised championship celebration that appears to have been dropped without reason. Speaking of business, like the Hurt Business, WWE then announced this year's WrestleMania slogan that's going to get very old very quick. WrestleMania back in business. Makes it sound like a sequel to a bad comedy movie in the 90s. With The Rock's voice saying, finally, about getting fans back live. What happens first though? Fans in the arena or Rhea Ripley's full call-up? She's still coming soon. Drew McIntyre tried to cut a promo on Bobby backstage, positioning himself as the #1 contender, but Sheamus attacked him, setting up an excellent no DQ match between them. Drew attacked Sheamus during his entrance, and the weapons came out immediately, with both guys showing great physicality, really getting over this blood feud's intensity. They went through at least one commercial break with another pay-per-view caliber match. A future shock DDT onto a chair, a claymore, but Sheamus fell out the ring. A brogue kick outside the ring. Even though Drew beat Sheamus clean last week, they were so competitive here, it made you invested in the outcome still. They both picked up steel stairs to have a Stair War title of your wrestling pay-per-view. The Thunderdome started chanting, "This is awesome," when it actually was, making it the perfect time to call off the match because they can't compete. They hit each other with the steps, knocking them both out, and the referee ruled a draw. It was a very anticlimactic finish. Not, that anticlimactic, but it still soured the effort the wrestlers put in. Fastlane is next week. You could just save the match until then and give us an actual finish. Oh god, they're gonna form the Bar 2.0. And that was the moment Raw gave up. After a really solid opening with that match and the Almighty Era presentation, WWE effectively pooped their bed. Beginning with the WrestleMania feud nobody asked for, Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman. Braun wants an apology from Shane McMahon. Why? I don't really know. Shane gave him a tag title match last week, which didn't work out, but Braun's the face here, you see. Shane's meant to be the heel, despite definitely doing the major face action of making Miz fight Lashley last week. So McMahon came out, said he's sorry, then walked off. This, by the way, isn't even to mention R-Truth doing a Men in Black memory wipe gag in all of this, which is approximately 24 years old. But wait, it gets worse. Shane invited Braun out to the ring again later on to give a fuller apology. Arguably, way too fuller. The idea, reportedly, as we've already talked about, was to position McMahon as a heel here. Maybe don't align him against The Miz last week by having him stall and change the mics and ramble. But the problem here is that requires the special ability of acting, something Shane appears to lack, creating a torturously long, drawn-out promo whose interpretations range from, well, this is incredibly boring, to, is Shane okay? I think he's malfunctioning. Shane then called Braun stupid and pretended to flee in a car when Strowman chased him. Xavier Woods rolled up Shelton Benjamin in a standard tag title feud build. Matt Riddle was more concerned with who's going to look after his scooter than his next match against Slapjack. They actually had some decent action for the 3 minutes they were given. Riddle will be defending his US title against Ali next Monday in a match announced a whole week in advance. WWE then had the audacity to go from a recap of Nia Jax screaming about her hole to a plug for WWE's Girl Up campaign for International Women's Day, and then back into a throwaway women's tag title match that was more about Reginald the Sommelier than anything in the ring. I genuinely don't think they see why this is potentially counterproductive. I really think they're all like, we are so good to women. Nia pinned Lana after Naomi was distracted by Reginald. God. Please like Charlotte, here she is driving a shark-shaped speedboat with Stone Cold Steve Austin. And here she is being way taller than Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. Can't even say that bit. Rhea Ripley is still coming, and the main event was Randy Orton versus AJ Styles. I've lost it, which meant Tom Phillips... And the main event was Randy Orton versus AJ Styles, which meant Tom Phillips achieved peak orgasm because he got to say it's a WrestleMania caliber main event every other segment. They're both heels. The opener had 2 heels. Everyone's a heel now. These two do have great chemistry though, and it was interesting to see Randy embody his new, more fiendish character, where he moves around twice as fast as he normally does, which is about just as fast as the average match pace in 2021. But no one can resist looking at the big man. And AJ got on top following Orton's distraction, and then for double distraction points, Alexa Bliss appeared on the Tron and shot pyro from the turnbuckles. Alexa stop, causing Randy to vomit up black liquid. That's what AEW should have done to cover. And AJ hit a phenomenal forearm to win. What did you think of Raw? Let me know in our poll on a poll match on the community tab, where 67% of you voted for Pyro That Works, the almighty era begins. Just like last week, this had a very good opening hour and main event, minus the supernatural guffins, but almost everything in the middle was either just there or actively bad, like the Shane stuff. And no Damian Priest is a bad sign for how much stock the company actually has in him. This week's Raw is average. Subscribe to the WrestleTalk podcast channel for mine and Luke's full podcast review of Raw today. Tease it, Luke!
Coming up on the WrestleTalk podcast today, myself and Ollie Davis will review Raw in full, including that bizarre Shane McMahon promo, which apparently was intentional. Plus, we'll get your thoughts on the show, all that and more. 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. UK time. We'll see you there.
Click the video on the right now to watch that. And Christian has left WWE and signed for AEW. Click the video beneath that for my review of AEW Revolution and its embarrassing main event finish. And make WrestleTalk.com your homepage for all the latest breaking wrestling news. I've been Mr. Davis. Jam that jam.